Hey, it's Florida's primary 2024 recap. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up. That is your host, J&Washington. You switched me. And that down there is your host, Sidrah. I don't know how to point on these. And I'm your host, Kellen Clark. And today we're just going to go through some of the election results that came out of the August elections here in Florida, and specifically the Central Florida area, because that's where you come from. Without further ado, David's going to tell us a little bit about
Seminole
County.
So let's look at Seminole County first and what we know about Seminole County. And so what I'll do is we'll share the Seminole County official website and just kind of go down some of the more interesting campaigns in the election. So everything's in. These are the unofficial results. And let's look at some of the more interesting races. We have in School Board District 3, incumbent Abby Sanchez and Stephanie Arguello moving on to a runoff election in November. Abby Sanchez, this is her second election. She ran the first time, winning pretty much a homegrown organic campaign. And she came out of this one with 42%. But of course, you need 50% plus one to move forward. So we'll see Abby and Stephanie in November. Another interesting campaign would be our very own Joel Hawksley running for Casselberry Commissioner seat number 4. This is his first time officially running for an elected public elected seat, and our friend didn't do so well. The incumbent, Thomas Kirk, he won with 52% of the vote outright. Real estate mogul Tom Weigel came in with 33%, and unfortunately, Joel Hawksley came in with 15% with 463 votes. What happened? We don't know. We haven't talked to Joel about his campaign, what he learned, what was the successes, and what were the shortcomings. But maybe next time, Joel.
Yeah.
Maybe
next time.
And so we had different Casselberry amendments to their charter. I see Sanford Commissioner. And again, we had, the different statewide elections, which we can talk about a little bit later. Our friend Corey Mills, Representative Mills, he moves on to his Democratic challenger in the November election, and that would be Jennifer Adams with 63% of the vote, overtaking Alec Pastrana and Tatiana Fernandez. This is Tatiana's second election. This is Alex, I believe, also his second or third election. Alex started early, had some bumps in the road with his campaign, some of his team members, and unfortunately, he just came up short. It's very unfortunate. Had the opportunity to speak with Alec a number of times, and he just couldn't, get any traction. Jennifer Adams was propped up by the Democratic Party, the usual Democratic allies, Ruthless, and people like that. And she soundly defeated Tatiana and Alec. A little professional advice to both Tatiana and Alec: I think it's time to retire from politics. That's just me. And what do I know? So anyway, some more races. let's get to the supervisor elections.
So a very interesting little bit of drama unfolded mere days before this election, namely with the incumbent Chris Anderson. So if you don't know, this race has been a bit funky from the start. Chris Anderson states that he's not running for re-election. Amy Pennick, school board member, says, you know what? I'm going to run for supervisor of elections. She does that for a while. And then Chris Anderson comes out of the woodwork and says, you know what? I'm back. I'm running again. And then a few days before the election, an investigation is opened into Chris Anderson because his name is printed on the ballot multiple times. Now, I would need to dive. We're going to dive more into this at a different date. In essence, it seems like he put his name as the supervisor of elections on the ballot and his name on there as a candidate, which violates some kind of election rules. So that was kind of a little bit of drama that unfolded right before. Normally, you would think that the incumbency advantage would help Anderson, but it seems like how much earlier Pennick got ahead, as well as some of the minor scandals that surrounded Anderson, was really what made the difference, at least from what I can see.
It was just too much attention, negative attention brought on the current supervisor of elections, and I believe there were instances where the supervisor made allegations about the board, the county commission board, that accusing them of being racist, or the county being racist, or working with certain elected officials as having concerns about racism. It wasn't good politics. It wasn't good publicity for Chris Anderson. He was a great guest. Both he and Amy Pennick.
Pennick both. If you want to watch, we have an interview with both of them. They both really showed up and did fantastic interviews. I also wonder whether or not Anderson's presidential endorsement, which is something a supervisor of elections doesn't traditionally do, I wonder if that ever factored into people's votes. Because if you don't know, Chris Anderson, supervisor of elections, he basically just came out and endorsed Donald Trump. And normally, a supervisor of elections doesn't endorse anybody like ever, let alone for president. So it definitely seemed a bit of a strange move. I mean, we address it in his interview why he thought it was appropriate, but I wonder if voters thought otherwise.
That's a very good point, Kellen. And maybe sometime down the road we'll have another conversation with Supervisor Anderson. Again, he was a great guest, and we really enjoyed having that conversation with him. Amy Pennick is moving from the school board to what she hopes would be the Supervisor of Elections office. Very approachable, down to earth, great ideas. I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to speak with her again. She faces the Democratic challenger, Deborah Pullion, on the Democrat side, who did not have a primary challenger. So we have two women who will face off in November for this particular seat. I'm looking forward to it. And Deborah, again, we extend an invitation for you to come on our show and talk about your campaign, talk about your hopes for the supervisor's office. And I personally and professionally would like to know how the Democrats are making themselves relevant in Seminole County.
Yeah. It's a deep red cap.
Kellen, anything you all want to say about this as we move on to the next county? Or if you have anything to say about any of these races?
Yeah. Seminole's a deep red county. I think Pennick has a natural advantage in that way. And so you're absolutely right. We would love to have Deborah on to, tell us, because you have to really campaign, and you have to really campaign on issues as a Democrat to win in a place like Seminole County. And I'm very interested to hear more about what she's doing.
All right. Sidrah, anything?
Move to the next one, please.
All righty.